Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan, and today's episode is a juicy one. We are diving into two recent celebrity breakups, Craig Conover and Paige Desorbo, as well as the Matt James and Rachael Kirkconnell split. These are reality TV show folks, and if you don't watch the shows, don't worry. I'll give you enough backstory that you can still benefit from this conversation. But I am mostly going to be talking about these breakups from an attachment theory perspective so that we can see these relationship dynamics, understand them, and learn from them. Because the last thing I want is for any of you to be investing 3 to 4 years in a relationship and then being blindsided by a breakup, which is exactly what happened in these splits. So this is a juicy episode. We are going to get into it. And before we do, I need to make a very special announcement. Today is the day I am opening up registration to a live 3-day Move to Secure Attachment Challenge that I will be hosting in February. I only do this about 1 or 2 times a year. I think last year it happened twice. This year I have travel and I also have my wedding. So honestly, this might be the only time that I'm hosting this live event. So believe me when I say, do not miss this. It's rare that I host these and they are so valuable. We have people that go through these challenges and say that it is life-changing just in the 3 days. I would highly, highly recommend that you reserve your spot. They do completely fill up. Last time I did this, they had filled up within a week. So go grab your spot. This is going to be such a powerful 3-day challenge. I obviously have done this so many times, but I also have new things that I'll be bringing. So this is a do not miss live event with me. You'll be getting live coaching from me where I am helping you rewire your brain so that you release past trauma and become securely attached. If you love the podcast, you will love this challenge. Don't miss it. All the details, the dates, the times, how to register, just go to the link in the show notes and grab your spot before they're gone. I can't wait to see you live. It's going to be amazing. This is such a wonderful way for us to honor, Valentine's Day coming up, right? By doing the work on ourselves and making sure that we have that healthy relationship with ourselves so we can effortlessly attract the love that we deserve. I'm so excited. Go register, okay? All right, moving on. Y'all, these breakups, I was somewhat shocked by both of them. However, at the same time, given my background and the fact that I actually have watched both of these couples closely, there was also this part of me that knew that these things were going to happen. I could have predicted this. And I can get into why. I'm going to start with one couple at a time. Let's start with Matt James. Matt James, Rachael Kirkconnell, they began their relationship in season 25 of The Bachelor. They were together for 4 years, and their relationship recently ended by Matt James putting up an Instagram post praying for strength and peace for Rachael and himself and their families as they go through a breakup. This post seemed out of nowhere. If you look at both of their feeds, we have all these beautiful photos of them spending time together. Rachael had done a recent post about how Matt James has her whole heart. She appeared fully committed and in on the relationship. And what we know based on her reaction, she seemed completely blindsided by this breakup. Okay. And adding to that, apparently this announcement of the breakup had come just after a trip to London. So they had just gone to London together, spent the time there, probably for New Year's, over the holidays. I think, well, let's actually rewind it for a second. Do you guys remember, if you're a Bachelor fan, you might, but if you didn't watch The Bachelor, I'll tell you, at the beginning of their relationship, there was a ton of controversy. Matt had chosen Rachael as the final, his final rose went to Rachael, but then they didn't end up together. And I think it was definitely in the filming where at the end it seemed like he chose her, but he didn't want to get married. But then after that, I think this was after the final rose, we saw that they were not together. It appeared as though they had broken up. And what ended up coming out was all this controversy about Rachel's past actions. And there was a number of things from her past that appeared to be racist. And obviously, Matt being a Black man, these two things did not look good. It did not look good for Rachael. And it also wouldn't look good for Matt to just look the other way. So there was interviews, there was discussions had. Matt went very public with his process and essentially said that he was giving her space and that they weren't talking. And honestly, it seemed as though he was like, she's going to just deal with this on her own. She's all on her own. Like, I wish her the best and I hope that she can look at her racist actions. It very much had the feel of, we are not together. We're done. I wish her the best. But then we find out later that they are getting back together and Rachael goes on this tour and she's issuing all these apologies and talking about her growth, etc. And they do end up together. Obviously, this was a complicated start to the relationship. I can tell you, based on how Matt James seemed to navigate what was going on in their relationship, that I suspected, and even how he showed up in The Bachelor, I suspected avoidant attachment tendencies 100%. It was very much, I'm going to do my thing, you're going to do your thing. There was no, we're working through this, we're supporting each other, we're having conversations together. It was, I'm over here, she's over there, good luck to her, right? And then all of a sudden they're back together. So even from the beginning of this relationship, the attachment style dynamics, if we look at it, it would show Rachael showing up with more of an anxious attachment style and Matt showing up with avoidant attachment. Now, let's look at their relationship though. We see them thriving on social media. We see all of these trips that they're doing. They have brand deals together. They're going to all these amazing restaurants, and Rachel's always eating like the biggest burger I've ever seen in my life while looking like a supermodel. So, there's that. They just seem to have this picture perfect couple life. They're living in New York, etc. And clearly things were not picture perfect, which, by the way, is a reminder for those of you who are comparing yourselves to what you see on social media. Social media is not real, right? What you see online does not depict what is truly going on beneath the surface. Is there actually secure attachment or not? Are they fully committed and emotionally invested to this relationship or not, right? Clearly, in their case, what looked like a perfect relationship had a lot going on underneath the surface. So please stop comparing yourself to what you see on social media. Now, this breakup definitely has the signs of someone with avoidant attachment. Rachael was completely blindsided. And there are reports, and who knows, I don't know how much of this is true. And once again, I'm commenting on this. I don't know them personally. I'm only going off of what I've seen online. I have so much empathy for them. I know that even personally going through this is so challenging, let alone having to go through it publicly. So I have so much love for them, right? But the reports say that Rachael might have been informed just a couple of hours before Matt James made that public Instagram post. So this is someone who doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to work through things, They just want to be done. Classic avoidant attachment. Now, one thing to think about is that the length of their relationship and how long they were together and how it appeared very healthy. And they seemed to have things they did apart and things they did together. So interdependence, right? Like it looked super healthy. My thought was, wow, they are both becoming more securely attached. Like I was seeing them as, okay, they're becoming securely attached. But clearly, once again, underneath the surface, they were not. And Rachael, in particular, having that anxious attachment in the beginning, I think anyone going through The Bachelor and going through what she did in the beginning of their relationship, it would create anxious attachment patterns. But it seemed as though she had really settled in the relationship. She seemed to be super happy. She appeared securely attached. And then essentially, she's getting the rug pulled out from underneath her. This relationship she's invested 4 years of her life into is ending out of nowhere. One thing that I saw, because you guys, I did my research for you, okay? I looked at all the news outlets. I saw something about Rachael saying that she needed a proposal or that she would be leaving the relationship, that she needed a proposal by the end of 2024 or she would leave. And here's the deal. If that was a year into the relationship, maybe even 2 years, I would say, yeah, that does sound like some anxious attachment. It sounds a little bit like an ultimatum, right? A protest behavior. I need the reassurance. Okay. However, this was 4 years into the relationship. And when I think about her saying, hey, if we're not moving forward, if there's not a clear sign that we are building this long-term relationship together, AKA, if you have not proposed, I will be leaving. Honestly, I see that as a securely attached approach. It's not an ultimatum. It's a clear, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I need. These are the consequences if this does not happen, right? And I think what happened is she had let Matt James know that he had all kinds of avoidant attachment style triggers coming up. Who knows? I hate to say it because I don't want this to be true, but there's part of me that thinks there may have been somebody else orbiting him, whether it was an ex or someone new. He may have had someone that he was attracted to or interested in who's orbiting the relationship. And what that does when you are avoidantly attached and you're having commitment issues, you're not able to feel emotionally safe in investing, and then you see someone outside your relationship, that gives your brain this logical reason why you can't fully commit. And it lets your brain justify why you're not able to fully emotionally invest in the relationship. And of course, when something's new, when you're not having to make these commitment decisions, it feels so much easier emotionally. So that ease and not having to make these emotional investment decisions is so attractive to the avoidantly attached person that they can find themselves getting wrapped up in a new relationship. So that's one aspect. Another theory, I'll throw it out there. They both have careers. Matt James, obviously, doing a lot of influencing, and I know he does all kinds of things. I think he has a nonprofit. He could have been telling himself the story that his career was negatively impacted by the relationship. And this is a trend that we're seeing more and more in our world, where hyper independence is really, really valued and career success is really, really valued over connection, over relationships. So that's another theory that potentially he had told himself this lie that his relationship was negatively impacting his career. And maybe he wasn't able to express himself the way he needed to to set whatever boundaries so that he could thrive in his career while being in a relationship. Because what do we know? You guys have heard me say it. I've been saying it a lot lately. When you're in the right relationship, when you're in a securely attached, healthy, interdependent relationship, it actually improves your career and helps you grow even more. So those are some of my theories. And now let's talk about what Rachael can do here. I would want Rachael to know clearly she's invested in this relationship. She's shown up. She's given it a lot of her time and effort. I would want her to have so much self-compassion and then take some time to heal. Obviously, there's grieving, particularly grieving what she thought this relationship would be in the future, right? All the things that now are not going to happen because of this breakup. I also would encourage her to get absolutely clear on what her relationship non-negotiables are, her standards, knowing how she wants to feel, and then working on getting more comfortable expressing what she wants and noticing the yellow flags as they're happening. I think with Matt James, there were yellow flags in the beginning, like I said, particularly with how he handled the controversy. So she owes it to herself to become even more securely attached and not be afraid to express what she's feeling and make it very clear what her standards are. My hope for her is that she does take some time away from the dating scene, that she focuses on herself, and that she really works on healing this trauma. This is a form of relational trauma, right? She was completely blindsided, didn't expect this. She is going to need time to really heal from this and grow. So I hope that she takes that time away. Now, for Matt, I also think this is a form of relational trauma. And he has some work to do on understanding what were the triggers that came up in this relationship, what has happened internally for him that has caused him to full on put the brakes on emotional investment and end this relationship so abruptly. I would really encourage him to be doing a lot of work on understanding what was it that led him to get to this place where all he could do was completely pull away instead of having conversations, working through things. If this had been a securely attached breakup, it would have led both people to come to the place where there was an understanding, where they knew where each other were at, where they had made peace with, okay, I care about you and I respect you, and this dynamic's no longer working. That was not how this happened. This was not a securely attached breakup. So I would say Matt needs to take time to take ownership over how he has handled this. And time will tell. Maybe more details will surface. I don't know if there was infidelity. I don't know if there's mental health concerns going on. Maybe somebody was really suffering with their mental health. Time will tell as more details emerge. But I would say both people need to take some time healing. And if Matt wants to get to a place where he can really commit and he can really emotionally invest, he's going to have to learn how to let intimacy feel safe so that he can feel like he's not losing his identity. He can feel emotionally safe and he can make that long-term commitment that he can stay in, right? To where commitment and emotional intimacy and that long-term investment doesn't feel so scary. So that's what I would hope for Matt, that he could work on some of that past trauma that's causing him to use avoidant attachment strategies and work on letting go of that so that he can relax in love, he can let his guard down, and he can fully emotionally invest. And here's the deal. They're both going to be okay. I think Rachael, honestly, from what I can tell, I think she's going to be very ready once she takes some time. She's going to be very ready to move on into a very serious, committed, deeply invested relationship. Matt, time will tell. It'll really depend on how he handles this. He could also take some time and then be really ready. And then I don't want to take it off the table that they get back together. I think Matt made this decision very quickly, very abruptly. Once again, it was kind of that avoidant attachment strategy of I just need to emotionally distance myself as quickly as possible. And I'm going to do it as quickly as possible without a whole lot of thought, right? So I think there was some impulsivity there. There was a compulsion, an avoidant attachment response. He could absolutely come back to Rachael and say, look, I want to work on this with you. Now, do I think that would be a good idea? Personally, having the media be all over it, having this be such a public breakup, I don't know that the repair would be possible. I think that the damage has been done. I think that it was such a wounding rupture of their relationship. I don't know how they would repair it. Could it be possible? Sure. I wouldn't advise Rachael to open herself up to it, but she might. So time will tell. Okay. I also want to chat really quickly about Paige Desorbo and Craig Conover. By the way, if you like this episode, if you appreciate my theories and commentary, will you send me a DM on Instagram at drmorgancoaching? Let me know your thoughts. Does it match up for you? Any eye openers? Anything that you relate to from your own relationship experiences? Send me a DM. I want to hear from you. Okay, Paige and Craig. I am a secret Southern Charm fan. It is my guilty pleasure. It is my trash TV. I probably shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to share. My fiance also loves Southern Charm. We watch it together. So, all that being said, we know about Paige and Craig. And here's the deal. There has been hints that Paige is not fully in for a long time. Paige lives in New York City. Craig lives in, I almost said Southern Charm, South Carolina. Okay. Paige has a very busy public career. She's on what is it called? The Giggly Squad with Hannah Berner. She has her own influencer life. Needless to say, she has a very big career, right? So I think what we were seeing is Craig is wanting to be very serious. He's wanting to get married. He's wanting to have kids. And Paige is wanting to grow her career. She's very much in her New York City girl, career woman, to the moon with her career kind of era. And Craig is 36 and Paige is 32. And what we kept seeing is, once again, Paige not being ready. They obviously also had the long distance challenge of Craig living in Charleston. And they seemed to make it work. There would be a lot of FaceTimes and a lot of travel, right? But at the end of the day, what happened? Paige, it seems, has initiated the breakup, even though there's some mixed reports that it was mutual. There was also statements that Craig was shocked, that he was not expecting this. And this is another relationship where they're 3 years in and this is happening. Okay. I think that what we are seeing is something very similar to the Matt James and Rachael breakup, except this time we have the woman showing up with more of the avoidant attachment style. She's having the hesitation to fully commit. She's not ready to do family planning, and she's not ready to give up what she sees as her, career. She is, from what I can tell, living in that place of feeling like if she fully commits to family, she's going to miss out on her career. This is a common belief that people with avoidant attachment style struggle with. That, if I go all in on my relationship, I'm not going to be able to grow my career the way I want to. And I think what's fascinating is we are seeing this from a different gender perspective, right? If you would have looked at attachment styles and how the numbers break down in terms of how many women are avoidantly attached, how many men, if you would have looked at that even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, you would have seen that the majority of the avoidantly attached population was men. We had a lot of men with avoidant attachment style. However, Paige is this great representation now of the emerging numbers of women. We have a lot of women, and it makes sense, right? If you think about our society, we have so many highly successful, independent women who are prioritizing career over relationships. And I really, truly believe that that's what we're seeing here. Now, with Paige and Craig, what I will say is I think Craig had for sure some anxious attachment. Even if we look at some of his past relationships, I know he was in a relationship with this girl named Naomi. He definitely had he has some attachment woundings. He has some ways of showing up that were not so healthy. However, I feel as though in his relationship with Paige, he was really starting to grow and he appeared much more securely attached. And I think Paige could have something to do with that. I think overall, it seemed like they had a pretty healthy relationship dynamic. They were able to build secure attachment together. The thing that's interesting though is that despite the growth, despite having that healthy, securely attached dynamic, at the end of the day, the things that bothered Paige in the beginning are the things that are ending the relationship. She doesn't want to live in Charleston. She doesn't want to give up her career. She's not ready to settle down. And I think what we're seeing is, unfortunately, she wasn't willing to deeply examine those feelings early on. And this is very common with people who have avoidant attachment style. They're not wanting to truly look at where they're at and what they're really feeling, right? You can be kind of cut off from your inner experience, particularly when you're working so much and you're building your career and traveling all over, right? It was very easy for her to kind of numb out from what she was feeling internally. So I think she avoided the uncomfortable truth that she did not want to be with Craig, not because she doesn't love Craig. I think there was mutual love there. I think they really cared about each other, but because of things like him living in Charleston and her not being ready to have a family, there was very practical things that we would look at from a compatibility lens. And this is why I talk about secure attachment as the foundation. When you can show up securely attached, conversations about compatibility are so much easier. You have that emotional safety, you have that closeness, you have the secure attachment as a foundation. So then you can have these conversations about, are you ready for kids? When do you want to start having kids? Where do you want to live? Would you ever consider living in Charleston? You know, we saw again and again on camera, and Lord knows how much of off camera this happened, that Paige was avoiding those conversations. She wouldn't have those conversations. And I think that this was because of those avoidant attachment tendencies of not wanting to actually listen to what was going on internally. And that was just her coping strategy, right? And honestly, this is another factor. People with avoidant attachment style love long distance relationships. I think she felt like, okay, I get to have my freedom. I get to have my independence. I get to focus on my career. And then I have my little Craigie poo. I can't remember what she called him, but I think she'd call him Craigie. She had him available when she needed him, right? Like, okay, he's there when she wants him, but then she still gets her independence. But ultimately, that wasn't fair to her. And it certainly wasn't fair to Craig. And I will be interested to see how both of them move on. I know that I would imagine they're both going to take a beat, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Craig within the next even 2 to 3 months. I'm going to give him, because this man is ready. Okay. I think he's going to be moving on to a very, very serious relationship quickly. Honestly, he knows what he wants. He's stated it. He's not been afraid to state it. He's grown so much also in his last relationship. He's more securely attached than ever. He is ready for the real thing. So I think we're going to see him move on. It was so funny. I follow some of the Bravo creators, like the people that comment on the Bravo shows. And there was one who said, just wait, Rachael and Craig are going to end up together. If you look at Rachael, she sort of looks like Paige a little bit, like, potentially she could be Craig's type. And the reality is that Craig and Rachael both want commitment. They want serious relationships. They want to build families. They are more aligned from a compatibility perspective. And hear me out on this. People like them who want the same things and they want to build the same kind of relationship, those kinds of people find each other and build these amazing relationships when their attachment wounds have been healed and they're no longer taking their unfinished business from past relational trauma, when they're no longer taking that into their adult dating lives. Those kinds of people find each other and they're able to build great relationships because they're compatible. But when we have trauma that we haven't dealt with, when we're letting our insecure attachment style run the show, we find ourselves in those dynamics like Craig and Paige and Rachael and Matt, where we are replaying some of our relational trauma in insecure attachment patterns. So that's why I always say, I was talking about this weekend with someone, that you want to get to a securely attached place before you're dating as much as you can. You're never going to be 100%. That's not possible. We're human. But you want to move to be as securely attached as possible and give yourself the best chance at attracting that person where, of course, you're going to both be open to deeply emotionally invest, but you're also going to be open to long-term commitment and building a relationship that both of you want, instead of feeling like you have to drag someone into the kind of life that you want, right? So there's so much we can learn from these breakups. I hope this analysis was helpful. Maybe you see some of your past dating patterns in this episode. You're going, oh yeah, I was the Rachael, or I was the Paige, or maybe you were the Matt or the Craig. But be honest with yourself. Do you recognize yourself in any of these patterns? Are you sick of it? If you are sick of it, just know I would love to help you heal so that you can become securely attached, and so that your next person that you're dating is someone that you could genuinely see yourself marrying. If you're anything like me, you're done wasting time on the wrong people, right? Like it's time for you to invest your energy and invest your time very intentionally and build a securely attached relationship. I truly believe that time is our greatest asset, and I don't want you guys wasting your time on the wrong people. Okay. So in order to heal and do that work, I'd love to help you inside of the Empowered Secure Love program. All you have to do, go to the link in the show notes, click the apply button and fill out our application. And my team will help you see if you're a good fit to do the work with us. But you're so deserving of taking the time to heal so that when you do date, you're not wasting your time. Okay? All right, y'all. I hope you love this episode as much as I loved putting it together. I, of course, am so excited about the live event happening next month. Don't forget to sign up. It's the 3-day challenge happening in February. That link is also in the show notes. Can't wait to see you there. And you all know, of course, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.